Welcome back to the Wildflower Diaries. I'm in one of my favorite places in Montana, which means I'm in one of my favorite places on earth. And I know I say that almost every time I get out, but it sounds hyperbolic, and it probably is. I think it comes down to the fact that so many of the places I go to have a special arrangement of characteristics that make them uniquely special and a favorite for all sorts of different reasons. This is one of my favorite places on earth because it's one of the easiest, most beautiful subalpine regions in our area to get to. I'm not going to say exactly where I am because you may have already figured it out. If you know this area, you probably already know. And if you're curious, shoot me a message and I'll let you know. I'm really getting away from any sort of wholesale advertisements of a single place and saying exactly where I am. This is a really popular area already, so it can handle the crowds, I think, but there's no reason to add to that. So if you do wonder, if you are curious where I am, here's what I can say. I'm in the northern Swan range of western Montana, and it is one of the easiest places to get to for backpacking and really relatively low effort, high reward kind of hikes. It was about 2.5 miles to get to where I am camping now, and I am along a chain of lakes that run on the side of a subalpine ridge, the northern end of the Swan Range. And I'm gonna be here for a couple of nights. The wildflowers are looking magnificent. And we have a low pressure system that just moved in, which yesterday resulted in some unsettled weather, but today it's cool. I mean, look at this. It's so different from my last outing 2 weeks ago where I was dying of heat. Even in the subalpine, I felt like I couldn't get cool. Here, I'm already in a jacket. I'll probably throw on some pants already, and it's 4 in the afternoon. It's incredible. The air is also clear. The rain yesterday and the last couple of days has really cleaned up the smoke. So my plan the next couple of days is to work this area. I'm camped about as high as I can, reasonably camp, and be still close to water because I wanted to be as close to the subalpine flowers as possible, and I'm in the middle of them right now. What I'm gonna do in the next couple of hours before sunset tonight is scat out this area and try to figure out what the compositions are, but I'll be shooting sunset and sunrise right in this area, within a mile radius of where I am now. I'm just gonna work this area and really commit to trying to get something, get some sort of image from this spot because it is stunning and I just wanna be in it and bask in the glory and beauty of this little spot for, well, the next 48 hours really, and see what kind of images can come from it. I'm gonna get things kind of organized and then I'm gonna set out for some reconnaissance and see if I can find some compositions here before sunset. I'm really excited. The weather looks great, feels great. Love this area. Well, I made it to the top of the main mountain that's in this area. It's at 7,500 feet overlooking just about everything in the North Swan. It's pretty incredible. There's really not a lot of smoke in the air. There's just a low-lying cloud that's hanging out at about 7,500 feet right at where I'm at. So sometimes the clouds kind of skim the top of the peak and then lift up a little bit, but they're obscuring all the higher peaks in this area. I've been up here before, but I've never been up here with a photographic eye to look and see what kind of compositions might be available. And I kind of have one in mind already behind me. What I thought could work from my perspective looking back to the lakes that I'm camped at doesn't quite work. I'm too far away and the lakes are too small. There's really no strong compositional elements that could tie that together. I would have to go along this long winding ridge a little ways to get right above those lakes, which I might do just to check that out and see what kind of compositions are available. Looks like there might be some flowers over there. But what is most promising is right behind me. So I'm walking over to the spot right now that I think could work. That could actually be pretty cool. It's looking south. Let me turn you around now. Whew. See, we've got these several lakes, the biggest right below me, and they kind of go under this little chain of hanging lakes on top of the ridge here. There's a little perch down there that could produce a viable shot without any obstructions, looking right down the chain of lakes. And I think with interesting light in the sky, being reflected back up by the lakes could be a really strong image, especially if I can find some flowers to anchor the foreground. I'm gonna hang out here as long as it makes sense. If it ends up actually kind of clearing, I'll stick up here tonight and shoot. It is a classic situation of 3 or 4 hours until sunset. I'm up here way too early, but I wanted to give myself enough time to scout just in case nothing looked viable up here. I could get back to camp, find something else, and get set up without rushing. But yeah, I'm gonna hang out up here for a little while, watch the light. Maybe some goats will come and find me. There's usually some mountain goats around here. I don't see them. So I was playing around with compositions on this slope right below us. Let me show you. Look at that, amazing string of lakes. I was playing down right here to try to find some compositions. And there's some opportunities down there for sure. I certainly haven't found the one yet, but there's enough stuff down there that I think I can make something work. But then look who started coming up towards me here. I don't know if you can see him. There's a goat right there. See him moving up the trail? Can't really zoom in, I don't think. Can I zoom in? Maybe not. Yeah, I can't really zoom in, but he's coming up right up here, right up the trail. Beautiful creature, man. Flying solo. I don't see any other goats. The wind is still ripping, which is going to present a little bit of a problem for our wildflowers, because I'm going to be focus stacking, and all those little movements between the frames, even though it's a split second, I think is going to be very challenging, but not impossible. While I've been waiting for the right light, I still got about 45 minutes. I came down the hill, maybe 100, 200 vertical feet, to a really cool, gnarly, old twisted tree I thought could make a good composition, and it kind of does make a really nice composition. It's just not quite there. Let me show you what it is. Right here, look at this guy right here, this tree. So here's what I'll frame it up how I was doing it on my camera. On the video here, my camera's a little bit wider so we get the top of the branch right here. So imagine the top of that branch about right there, circling, kind of hugging the lake, with the bottom branch right here also hugging the lake, and then this bottom one just kind of coming through, anchoring the bottom of the frame. So I took a couple of frames on my stills camera, which is much wider than this lens, so I can get the whole thing in one shot. And I don't know, it felt like this log and tree was just too heavy. It was too much. The wildflowers are going to present some serious challenges with all this wind. It's been abating every now and again, but it's consistent enough that it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a problem for the frame. Of course, this tree doesn't move. It's static, so no issue there. Still focus stacking, because I'm going to be quite close to the trunk, and then getting the background and sky and mountains in focus will require focus stacking, but static subject, no movement, easy peasy to blend. I don't know. It's cool. It's a neat piece of wood, and compositionally, it's just nice. I mean, it just frames up that lake so well. I'm just not quite sure that it works. When I was looking through it on my stills camera and reviewing the frames, there's just something about it that felt out of balance. Like the tree was way too heavy for such a broad vista. It felt like too much heavy foreground, especially weighted to the right. I tried to balance that out by keeping the mountains in the upper left, and if there was some cool color in the sky, I think that could help. If the wind doesn't die, I'm sticking here with this static composition, and if it dies, I'll go back up there, and it'd be amazing if I could get both. I might as well try. All right, I have to say I'm into it. The old gnarly tree shot, I'm into it. I've been studying it and working the angles on it, and I really like it. I think it's growing on me. It's growing on me quite a bit. I think the tree works. What I was concerned about, and what's really starting to pan out, is as we're nearing golden hour, still about 20 minutes away, the light is really giving a lot of shape to the landscape and making the mountains in the background pop, which is helping balance the left and upper left portion of the frame, which is what I was most concerned about as I'm looking at it now. Let's see if I can show you the sample shot. And the clouds are actually becoming more favorable here. I'm going to pull you. Let me see if I can do it like this. There we go. All right, here is the screen. It's going to be very glary. The tree just wraps around that lake, and then the clouds are starting to move in to fill up the sky, which is, I think, going to be pretty critical. Man, this is horrible. I'm sorry. This isn't working very well. But you kind of get the idea. It is growing on me as I'm sitting here watching the light change and seeing it get more depth. It could be one of those shots that when I get home, I look at it and go, what was I thinking? That's crazy. It doesn't work. It's bad. But at the moment, I'm feeling good about it. So I'm going to keep working it until I don't feel good about it anymore. And then I'll go back up there. 200, that should hold. Woo! Here we go, here we go, here we go. Ah, that was perfect. Perfect little lull in the wind. Maybe the best one yet. I wasn't ready. Wow, that's a nice cloud. Oh, that's great. Let me get there. That light is just so dynamic. Got it. Whew. Oh, I love it. That cloud is even better. It's nice and sharp. I'm going to star that baby. That is the frame. All right, I am going to pack up and head out of here. I am chilled to the bone. I feel very, very satisfied with tonight's shoot. And I kind of want to get back to the trail before it gets dark. And maybe even back to my tent before it gets dark. That'd be ideal. All right, well, tomorrow morning, I'm going to shoot right next to my campsite. There's a beautiful meadow and a creek, and I'm trying to get there first light It's supposed to be sunny tomorrow, and this, based on the fact that the sky's clearing tonight, we might just get direct light right away in the morning as it pops over the mountains, which means some nice side lighting or backlighting on the flowers in the meadow right next to my campsite. So I'm going to work some scenes in that area with the creek and that little meadow. It'll be nice, slow morning, some coffee. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Good morning. Well, it didn't really happen this morning for me, and I kind of anticipated this. I didn't scout well enough for a sunrise shot, and therefore I couldn't make it happen. I'm not sharp enough in the mornings to put something together, to thoughtfully arrange all the puzzle pieces of a composition. Gosh, I just can't. I struggle to do it unless it's obvious. And this isn't an obvious place. There's definitely something to be had here. I just don't know what it is. But that's all right. It's great to get up and watch first light catch the mountain. And something I learned this morning was that this mountain right here, which I thought would be the bigger one, and right over there, was the mountain I was up last night and on the backside of. I thought maybe it would. I thought maybe it'd get really nice first light on it, but it didn't. It's at a kind of a weird angle, so it doesn't catch that light. So that's good, because that was going to be the background of my composition that I was thinking about. I learned a lot this morning. I relearned that I'm not great at sunrises unless I scout. And I also learned about that mountain. So I've learned that my direction is going to be this way, maybe at the outlet. So what I'm going to do is scout, and to spend some time today scouting for sunrise so that I don't even have to think about it in the morning. I just get up, go set up my camera, and I'm ready to go. That's got to be the move. I've got plenty of time today. I have nowhere to go. I'll probably go for a hike around the area, just a quick day hike, and then spend time scouting for sunrise and get something. So get a couple of options so that I can be really quick on my feet in the morning and just go to it and make it happen. I've got a lot to figure out, but all good things, and it looks to be a beautiful day today and tomorrow, so I'm just gonna bask in the beauty of this place. I mean, gosh, it's lovely. Enough jabbering on. I'm gonna go back to camp, get some coffee, and start my day. Good evening. I'm here on top of a little mountain just to this. Well, it's really like a subsidiary peak of the main peak I was up on yesterday. I had a lovely afternoon. I went on a stroll along the ridge of basically this whole space, this whole hiking area. It was amazing. It was just this airy subalpine ridge for maybe 2 miles of walking, of just cruising this mellow rolling ridge. I had a really nice time, and Then I did some reading by the lake and just took it easy. And now I've been up here for maybe an hour. As usual, I got up here way earlier than I wanted to. I thought I was going to go a little further, but then this place caught my eye. I've been looking at it the last couple of days, just thinking, curious more what the perspective would be up here, because it's more central and closer to the basin that holds all of the lakes, which makes this place so special, than the main peak of the hiking area. So I thought it might yield a better result. Good news and bad news on that front. The good news is that is true. It does yield a much better view. I can see 4 lakes from here, maybe 5, 4 really clearly, and then endless ridges. The problem is it is quite hazy today, hazier I think than it was yesterday. So the expanse across the basin, as I see the far side of the basin, even there, it's pretty dang hazy. And then I can only see 2 or 3 ridges beyond. Should be able to see Glacier National Park on a clear day, but it's just hazy, not a super attractive view. The other thing is there's not much for foreground looking what would be north. So I ruled that out pretty quickly for now. I think it has potential maybe in fall, or maybe on a clearer day, I'd be more compelled to look that direction. But looking across so much space through so much haze is not super attractive for a big vista scene. So I've turned my attention here, back towards the peak, the main peak I was on yesterday. Really cool view of it from up here. I'm so close to it. Haze is not a problem. It looks really clear and pristine because I am so close to it. So as a grand vista, it works well without that kind of haze. And I did find a pretty cool foreground. Not flowers, because again, we're ravaged by wind tonight. You might be able to hear it. I apologize in my microphone. We're super windy again tonight, and flower photography is next to impossible on these high ridges right now to get the big vistas because of the wind. And it's just no way, especially around sunset when it's dark, to freeze the flowers, much less freeze them in 6 consecutive frames in the same exact spot to do a focus stack. It's just not possible. So I've turned my attention again to some old, gnarly, twisty roots of a tree that's directly on top of this little mountain. And I actually have a composition I really, really like. You always wish for some clouds for these big vistas, and sometimes they just don't happen. So I'm gonna make the most of it and shoot it regardless, at least through golden hour. And then I guess if there are no clouds, the job is done, and I'll go down a little bit early. But if some clouds come back, I'll wait for the actual sunset light to hit those. That's the plan. In the meantime, I'll just be shooting some B-roll and hanging out, and I'll jump back in once the light's good and start shooting. Scared. This is a disembodied voice from the future. I'm at my desk now at home editing this, and unfortunately the audio didn't record on this section of video. I had the camera set into a slow motion mode in which it doesn't record audio, so I had about 20 minutes of footage here that I was explaining the composition that I was working on that didn't record. So I'm gonna do my best to fill in the gaps now at my desk. So here's the composition. I was really keen on this. This root system was super neat, and I worked the camera in a position to be able to use those roots as a leading line, and finding the angle was the trickiest bit, is moving it back and forth, which I just have this still frame now to show you, but I was trying to the right and to the left to figure out what the weighting was on these roots to create a powerful line to lead up into the mountain. And I felt pretty good about this angle. The trickiest part was getting the mountain right and weighting it correctly. And what I decided to do with the trees and the peak is put it a little bit to the left, knowing that the sunset light would fill in the right and be a point to draw the eye. So weighting the frame then effectively to the right in the upper right of the peak. No clouds in the sky to speak of, so that wasn't a factor, just leaving with a clear blue sky. The last thing I'll say about this image is that there was a little gap in the tree that allowed the golden hour light to stream through and hit the roots nearest me, and they're bright white, light gray, which created these specular highlights that had no detail in them and were really distracting. So what I ended up doing is setting the 10-second timer on the camera and then laying down at an angle that blocked the light, blocked the sun from hitting those roots and creating just a uniform shadow over the entire root system in the foreground. And I did this numerous times, and you'll actually see it in the next time-lapse footage. Pay attention to the right side of the frame. You'll see the light come and go off those roots nearest the camera. And now, here's the final image. It's a lovely, quiet morning. Just a few clouds in the sky. We've got a shot framed up here. Again, no wildflowers. There's wildflowers everywhere here, and I just couldn't find any patches that really worked for compositions this morning. And then, of course, the last two sunsets just hasn't happened, but I don't know what that's about. They're everywhere. Look at this. They're just like all around me. So maybe that's the point of this Wildflower Diaries. They're here, but they're in the video. Just couldn't find any stills that they'd work in. Just waiting for light on this wall right behind me. Should be getting it any minute now. Oh, in fact, I think I might see a little kiss of light up there. I'm set up down here with these grasses and these rocks as kind of a channel leading out to the reflection with the big wall in the background here. Let me see if we can get a good view of it here. So here's the shot. We've got these channel of rocks that are really cool. They've got nice striations on them. And then these bunches of grass, two bunches, a little one on the edge and then a big one kind of leads, the little one on the edge kind of points and leads the eye to the one to the one kind of in the middle, and then the rocks form that channel leading out to the wall, which will hopefully get some light here any minute. Now, the one challenge, you may have noticed it already with this, is distortion on this lens. Look at this. These trees are like so slanted. Because they're at the edge of the frame on a very wide angle lens, they're subjected to this distortion, unfortunately, which I can kind of fix in post. I'm going to give myself some leeway, a little extra shooting space for the frame so that I can fix it. I can do a perspective. You can do a perspective shift. I think it's called perspective warp maybe in Photoshop. and straighten those out, but you do lose real estate elsewhere, so you have to do it strategically. But not a great look. These trees are just tilting backwards, and then right here they're leaning into the water, so I'll have to fix that in post. The natural result of using such a wide angle lens. I'm at 14 millimeters on a full frame for reference. So that's it. I'm going to focus stack this with these rocks, and I don't know, just a couple of frames, not many, to get the whole thing, and we should be good to go. I think I got it. It's going to be a tricky one to post-process because of those warped trees, but it's possible. It's tough, but it's possible. Well, this has been such a special trip. I mean, this place is a pure delight. It's just a backpacking, hiking, mountain playground. Last night I was laying in bed and I was like, I'm having such a great time here. I really want to make some flowers work, and I thought I'll stay one more night. I've got some extra food. I've got to get back in time for the Saturday market tomorrow to sell prints. So I've got to walk out of here, unfortunately. I guess best to leave on a high note. I think that's going to do it. I'm going to head back to camp 100 feet away and get some breakfast, some coffee, and then hike out of here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you following along, and I hope that you're getting out there, seeing some beauty too. As man, we live in a beautiful world. Have a great day. Bye.